Oh, Sonic Unleashed. How everyone likes to rag on you and say you're one of the bad Sonic games, when actually in reality, you've done a lot of good things for the series versus what other bad games have done. You're actually not that bad. So let's talk about that. So today, we focus on Unleashed and all the things people don't give it credit for. What people do give it credit for is having the Werehog and how a lot of people think it's bad versus it's very well designed, the Werehog. It just doesn't complement the main Sonic gameplay. But anyways, let's get off that tangent and focus on what Unleashed did right for the daytime stages, which is the main Sonic that everyone likes to play. And that is they've changed a lot of the mechanics for the better. Let's say for versus, whenever you're moving at high speeds around let's say going down a slope or you're trying to collect some rings that are a little bit to the side. Back in Adventure 1 and 2, and I think in Heroes they fixed it a little bit. No, actually it was still as finicky. Was when you move at high speed, it was a little bit hard to move left and right because Sonic was so sensitive. When moving at high speed, you would maybe run into a wall or you start bouncing off stuff because you're moving so fast. It's hard to just use slight tilt controls to collect what you need to collect. Well, in Unleashed they changed that. They changed to the fact where you can move left or right just slightly by pressing the bumper, left or right bumper, to move the left or right direction. Which is a much better mechanic and helps you not run into things and helps you keep up the pace. Much more fluent, gameplay that way. Not as many hiccups and mess ups as you will see if you play Adventure and see. As I'll show up here, you'll be hitting literally the rails back and forth. Another mechanic they changed, like part of the little quick step thing, is when you're on rails. In Adventure 1 and 2, it was a little finicky. It was still pretty, mechanic wise it worked very well, but there were some instances. Let's say you were at an incline, and Sonic, instead of jumping onto the next rail by pressing the analog and the A button, you would jump in that direction but jump over the rail because I guess the rail wasn't perfectly in line with the other one. You could get a slope or something, which was an issue in stages with Sonic when he was going downwards, like in Final Rush, because a lot of the rails go down and go in curved directions. It didn't happen too many times, but it was enough to where you could notice it if you played the levels over and over again, like most of you I believe you have. One thing that they did change for the worse, I do admit in Unleashed, was they added this thing called the Stomp. Instead of using the bounce move like they had in Adventure 2, they changed it to a Stomp, which kind of breaks the pace versus what the bounce was, because you could keep moving and you could land on your feet using the bounce bracelet and keep running, versus with the Stomp you stop in a set path. But it can also be some good, because if you're trying to land on a specific platform, you might bounce with the bounce bracelet, but with the Stomp you'll stomp in place. So I guess it has its pros and its cons, so it's not as bad. But speaking of the Stomp, they have changed one mechanic of the way buttons are controlled. And instead of mapping all of your actions onto one button, they changed it to where now, instead of you having the bounce bracelet and your lightspeed dash, which we'll get into in a minute, on the same button, it can be a little finicky because if you're trying to do a lightspeed dash, you might stomp into a pit. Well, now in Unleashed they changed it to where now your lightspeed dash is on the Y button, or the triangle if you're using PlayStation, and now your stomp is on the circle or B button, which is a much better thing because it has less hiccups and less, random deaths that you don't deserve. But speaking of the lightspeed dash, they have changed it for the better because of the buttons. Because it's now on the Y button, there's no saying, oh, I pressed that button but it didn't shoot me off in the right direction. So that is a little bit better. So lightspeed dash didn't really change. It kind of stayed the same. All it did was move a button, which is fine. They added this new thing called the boost, which is a lovely mechanic, because not only does it make Sonic move much faster, and it just looks a lot more interesting to watch, honestly. But what it does do, with the boost, they added the new boost meter, or ring energy, I think it's called in Unleashed, but I think in the rest of the game it's called boost meter or whatever. Doesn't really matter, you get the point. What they call it doesn't matter. But what it does is, the rings itself are now useful versus how they were back in the day. Because back in the day, Sonic 1 onward, up until Unleashed, you really only needed one ring. You get one ring and you could pretty much always survive anything, and you wouldn't really need to get another ring. There's no incentive to collect another ring unless you're trying to grind for lives by getting 100 rings to get extra life. But in Unleashed they changed that, because now you need rings to use the boost, because without the rings you're not going to get that ring energy that you need for the boost, and you're going to want to use the boost because you want to go faster, because let's face it, this is a Sonic game, you're going to want to move fast. So they really did good with that. They changed it for the better, because now rings are a lot more useful. But one thing they did mess up on, and this is, it's not too bad because it's not that often that this is a big issue, but in Unleashed they did change how the homing attack was supposed to be used. Because in Unleashed, they mapped the homing attack to the same button as you would the boost and air boost. So sometimes, not very often, but the game wouldn't register that you're trying to use the homing attack, and it would use the boost, and you would either zoom past an enemy or you would go right through it versus doing like a homing attack chain that you probably would need to do. So there are some little, but they changed that. They changed that for the better onwards in Colors and Unleashed. I mean, not Unleashed, in Colors and Generations and even Forces. So that is one of the best things that they have done. Another change they did to the homing attack is, well, if you remember in Adventure, sometimes you would literally be in a line of enemies, and sometimes the homing attack wouldn't do what it was supposed to do. It wouldn't lock onto an enemy like you thought you were, even though you weren't that far away from it. But now in Unleashed, it has a little reticle that says, hey, this is where it's targeting on, so you can never, like, you'll always know if you're gonna homing attack most of the time. There are some instances that the game will boost you instead, but that is a much better way of handling the homing attack, because now it's not as finicky and it works 99% of the time. There's the 1% of the time where it messes up. But a thing they have changed much better overall is now the whole sense of focus of speed is much better because of this. Now you can go through levels much faster and get around a lot better now that you can use all these mechanics. Oh, one thing I forgot to add is in Adventure was the somersault, and the somersault wasn't that good to me, because instead of, there's these little holes you have to slide under, obviously. Sonic would have to do a somersault to get under them, and it wouldn't keep up the speed. But in Unleashed, they changed that. They changed the somersault to a slide, which is on the B button, but it doesn't interfere with anything because B button is mapped to one of your air movements, and you never slide in the air because that wouldn't make sense. Or stomp on the ground because that wouldn't make sense either. What you'll do is you'll slide, you'll get right back on your feet, and it keeps the momentum up. So this doesn't mess with the gameplay in the slightest. You will keep moving at a faster pace while adding more platform-esque things to it. Something that Unleashed did change, which was a very odd choice, is the fact that now in the 3D game, there's now 2D sections. These don't, in my opinion, enhance the game, but they do add some variety to the gameplay, which in my opinion is a good thing, because maybe going 3D at that point in time was a little getting stale, so mixing up a little bit was good. Maybe not now, because now we have two separate entities for Sonic, the classic and the modern, but that's a topic for another day. But yes, that was what I felt like Sonic Unleashed did not get enough credit for. If you liked and agreed with what I said, hit a like button. Share it with your friends if you really would like to help my channel out that much. I would appreciate it very much. And yes, I stutter a lot, so that's a bit of an issue for me. I have a little bit of a stutter, if you haven't noticed. Or I jumble on my words. But anyways, like, subscribe, comment. If you agree or disagree, leave your thoughts to me. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.